The first thing we do when we get in is we sort of think of it as a triage, like an emergency room doctor. We look at the company and we figure out how much cash do they have, how much liquidity do they have, and do we have time to look deeply into their problems, or should we be preparing the company immediately for bankruptcy? If you assume that they have plenty of liquidity, then we look at the company's operations and we try to figure out with the management team or crisis management team, if there are people in performing those duties, we try to figure out, what is the business, what should the business be, what's the viable part of the business. And once you've done that, then you have a business plan that comes out of that. It's typically a 5-year business plan. We can do an evaluation off of that business plan, and we can do a debt capacity analysis. How much debt should the company have? So if the company, we value it at, let's say, $1 billion, and the company has debt capacity of $500 million, which means it should only have 500 of debt and therefore 500 million of equity in my example. If the company has $3 billion of debt, then you have a problem on your hands in terms of the balance sheet. So then we work with the company and its creditors to convince them that the business plan is in fact viable, because if you're going to actually get people to buy onto a restructure, the first thing they have to do is buy onto the actual business plan. If they believe in the business plan, when you hand them the example I just gave you, which is $500 million of equity, they can actually believe they're receiving $500 million of value. Ford was an interesting situation. The issues leading up to the bailout of other companies. We had been inside working with Ford on their business plan, very carefully looking at their options. We spent about 1.5 years doing that with about 5 people from Blackstone and 5 people from Ford and about 5 people from Davis Polk. Pardon me. So nobody really knew that this effort was going on. Ford was very, very concerned about there being any negative publicity. Along the way, as we looked at what they were doing with their operations and the success that they were starting to have with some of their new automobile introductions, we started to think this company actually has a real shot to stay out of bankruptcy. It was not the prevailing view for GM, obviously, and Chrysler, but we thought Ford had the shot. So we started working with the company to looking at an exchange offer. And that's what we did. We did a $9 billion exchange of debt for a variety of different kinds of things, some cash, some debt, and it allowed Ford to move maturities out, reduce the size of their balance sheet leverage, along with the changes in operations, really allowed Ford to completely avoid bankruptcy. And today it's one, if not the strongest, one of the strongest automobile manufacturers in our country, having great success. A big part of what we do is provide a lot of credibility. We've been in this business a long time. We've been at Blackstone for almost 22 years. And in that 22-year period, we've been doing business plan after business plan after business plan, valuation after valuation after valuation. We've testified often to the results of those two. Ultimately, it serves, the credibility that we bring serves as the basis for getting a deal done among the various constituents.